there and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Angie and I'm a chemist who loves makeup. And today I'm going to be answering some frequently asked questions about sunscreen and SPF protection. So let us just jump into the first question. So the first question is, why should I wear sunscreen? So obviously we know that sunscreen protects you from skin cancer, but it's also important to wear sunscreen because the sun can cause damage to your skin, including visible signs of aging. One study I saw said sun damage could account for 80% of visible aging. This UV light bombards your face, it damages the skin, and your skin does recover, but over time it becomes harder and harder for your skin to fully recover. And this is what leads to things like discoloration and wrinkles. And if you are watching this video, I'm sure you do care about the visible damage that the sun causes to your skin. So it is recommended that you wear sunscreen on a daily basis. There is some variation with what is recommended. The FDA recommends a minimum of SPF 15 for daily wear. The Skin Cancer Foundation recommends SPF 15 for regular daily activities and 30 for outdoor active activities. And the American Academy of Dermatology recommends a minimum of SPF 30 on a daily basis and SPF of 50 or above for all outdoor activities. So whatever SPF you do decide to use, it is important to wear it on a daily and regular basis in order to help prevent that long-term damage to your skin. So the second question is, what is SPF? So SPF stands for sun protection factor, and this measures the protection against specifically UVB rays. UVB is the type of radiation that is associated with skin cancer specifically. There's also UVA rays. These rays can penetrate deeper into the skin and are what is associated with these visible signs of aging. If you also want this UVA protection, make sure you find a sunscreen that says it is broad spectrum to ensure that it protects against both UVA and UVB rays. There is also a third type of radiation, which is UVC, but that is pretty much blocked out by the ozone. So let me know if you would like a video about UVA versus UVB rays and the type of sunscreen ingredients that block each type of radiation. So our third question is, how much sunscreen do you need for your face? So the way the SPF is calculated is measured as 2 milligrams of the product per squared centimeter of your face. If you use less than that amount, you are not going to be getting that full SPF protection listed. So obviously most of us don't know the area of our face and we don't weigh out sunscreen, so that eliminates both of those units of measurement right there. So the suggested amount, which is in a more tangible form in terms of volume, is half a teaspoon of sunscreen for your face and your neck combined. Reaching this is really important because, like I said, if you don't use this amount, you aren't going to get the coverage that is specified on your product, and most people use a third to a half of what they are supposed to do. The next question is, what is the difference between a physical/mineral sunscreen and a chemical sunscreen? So a chemical sunscreen actually absorbs the UV light. These chemical sunscreen ingredients actually penetrate the epidermis, or the top layer of your skin, and absorb the UV light before it can cause any damage to your skin. A mineral or a physical sunscreen creates a barrier on your skin, and this reflects the UV light. And these are the ones that are typically associated with a white cast, which makes sense because one of the ingredients is titanium dioxide, and that is used as a white colorant as well. And there are only 2 physical sunscreen ingredients that are approved in the US. That is, like I said, titanium dioxide as well as zinc oxide. In the US, there aren't that many sunscreen ingredients that can be used because sunscreen is regulated like an over-the-counter drug. So there are only specific ingredients that you can use and advertise them as having sun protection. It makes it really hard for US companies to be innovative and new in terms of sunscreen ingredients. For instance, there are a lot of newer sunscreen ingredients that are being used in Korea that may be associated with being less sensitizing to the skin, but the FDA has not started allowing those yet. So companies here cannot put those ingredients into their product and advertise it as having sunscreen protection. You can put it into your product, but you cannot put it in there for it and advertise as having sun protection. So the next question is the SPF in my foundation or my moisturizer providing me enough protection from the sun? So the answer to that is probably not. So like I said earlier, to reach that SPF rating that is on your product, you have to use an amount of 2 milligrams per centimeter squared. And as we already established, people are using far less than that of sunscreen in general. So when you're using something like a foundation or a moisturizer, you're probably not using anywhere near a half of teaspoon for the entirety of your face. If you use that as your sole SPF protection, you're not going to be reaching the amount that is advertised on your product. That is why I would suggest still using a specific sunscreen product. So although you should wear sunscreen, if you're still going to use a foundation or a moisturizer as your sole form of SPF, I would probably go with the moisturizer option, as I feel like you are more likely to use more of that product and get closer to the amount and probably have a better coverage. Whereas a foundation, if you use too much of it, it's gonna look cakey and whatnot. But like I said, I do recommend a separate sunscreen product always. So our next question is powder sunscreen effective? And I did make a video about this previously. I will link it up above, but answer to this question also is probably not. If you think that people aren't using enough of a regular sunscreen or of a foundation or a moisturizer, imagine how little of a powder product you're going to use. One statistic I saw was that people would only use 1/14 of the amount of the sunscreen if it was a powder. So again, I wouldn't recommend using a powder sunscreen as your sole form of sun protection. Where I would recommend a powder sunscreen like this is in the case if you are wearing makeup, you are outside, and it is recommended that you reapply sunscreen every 2 hours. Obviously, that's very difficult to do if you are wearing makeup. So if you want to use this as a touch-up to keep you less oily looking and to kind of add a little bit of more sun protection throughout the day, I think that is where I would find a powder sunscreen to be somewhat beneficial. But again, not as a sole form of protection. Last question, should I layer sunscreen products? A lot of people have this misconception: if you put an SPF 30 product and add another SPF 30 product, that is gonna give you something like an SPF of 60, which is just not true. Your sun protection will be as high as your highest SPF. If you have one layer of 30 and one layer of 15, your highest protection is gonna be an SPF of 30. But layering these products can be helpful to reach the full coverage to get that SPF that's on the product. I mentioned this multiple times, but people don't use the amount of sunscreen they're supposed to be using. So if you have 2 products that are SPF of 30, that's gonna get you closer to that half a teaspoon of coverage that you were looking for. So in that case, it can be very beneficial. It's not gonna hurt you to put a sunscreen on and then have a foundation and have a moisturizer that has this SPF coverage. But the highest coverage you are gonna reach is whatever the highest amount is. It's like a filter. So if you have a filter and you have the same size filter, it's not gonna do anything extra. So I hope that you found this video informational. If you like this video and you like videos like this, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you have more questions about SPF or sunscreen, leave them down below and we can do a part 2 to this video. And with that, I will see you in my next video.